Hello and welcome to Scrapbooking Station. This video is going to be a little bit different. We're going to participate in one of the Paper Wishes message board challenges. Usually when I'm talking Paper Wishes, I'm talking about patterned papers, occasionally cardstock, either card making or scrapbooking. But a little known secret is almost all, I would say 99% of my multimedia materials come from Paper Wishes. And so this is a multimedia tag challenge. So you're going to play along with me. First thing you're going to need are some tag blanks. So whether you cut them out yourself or you buy the tag blank, that's what you want to start with. And we're going to put a backing on it to begin with. And I'm going to be using some Color Burst, and this is the green color, mixed with some Perfect Pearl powders. So I'm going to go to my Mixed Media Center, which is my kitchen, and we'll get started. So to begin with, you kind of saw a photo of my little assembly line that I've got going here. So this is the Phthalo Green Color Burst powder. And what this is a piece of plastic wrap. And the only two ways I use this Color Burst is either this way, which I'm fixing to show you, or I dilute it and use it as almost just like watercolor paint. I just don't like the look when it's put directly onto cardstock. So, and I wanted to talk about my tags. My tags are the heaviest cardstock that I've got in my stash, and it is 165 pound, and it's actually got a little bit of coating. I don't think that matters. And all I'm doing now is I've got a little paintbrush, nice soft fluffy paintbrush, and I want to add my Perfect Pearls. And talk about the only way to use it. Perfect Pearls, unless you get it wet, and I'm talking saturated wet, I'm just going to put little sections here. It won't dry, meaning that if I were to rub my finger on dry Perfect Pearls, I see them showing it with Versamark, and you'll always pick up Perfect Pearls unless you get it really wet. Excuse me. Now you're going to need a spray bottle of water. So I just have a Stampin' Up! Mist bottle. And you want to see your Color Burst change from powder to liquid. And if you want to crunch up a little bit more, you can do that. Then you want to take your tag. And the reason I have 3 tags is this first one's going to be really juicy. And you just want to pop it down. And it doesn't take long at all, especially these first couple. And then pick it up. You get something like that, and just put it off in your little assembly line to dry. And I want to do it again. I'm going to do it with all 3 tags. If you want to pick up a little more, just pop it down. Cool. And the next one, and you have no control over any of this. Now the last piece I want to do is I always have a cleanup piece. Let me get a little bit more on this one. There we go. So hopefully you're seeing that. They're actually gonna, this cardstock's gonna curl up, and probably yours will too, but as it dries it actually flattens out, so don't worry about that. And the last thing I want to do is, because I don't want to waste all this, I mean you could just throw it away at this point, but I have kind of a cleanup piece of cardstock. And this is different. This comes from Hunky Dory. It's their typical base cardstock. Okay, let me just show you this, because this is if you were to put it flat. And I want to show you a couple things. So on the edge, I want to swipe it, because that's a whole different look. So hopefully you can see all that. Now this one's going to be a little bit more blank, because again we're just kind of cleaning up and picking up. And the last thing I want to do with this, and I'm going to have to do it over here, but I've got this small pack of dots. Actually, let me add a little bit more, because I really want to pick up a pattern, or try to. squish on some water. Okay. Just gonna hopefully pick up dots is what I'm looking for here. That looks good. And I apologize, I gotta do this off camera, but I'll show you the result. Now all I did was tamp on there, and you can see where I get the little spots of color. I love it. And actually I'm gonna do it one more time, add some spots down here. Hopefully that will stand out from the wash. So got those on there. Actually, let me fold this up and show you what I'm doing. Ugh, it is messy. There we go. So now I've kind of got this polka dot thing going on. Now I'm just stick with one color, but if you wanted to, let this dry and maybe add some of your other colors. Okay, all this goes into the garbage. I'm gonna wash my hands. I'm gonna meet you back in the studio. So while I was at it, I made several colors of tags so I could play a bit, and this is it. And so these colors actually come out of the burst, and then you'll see like this luminescence, and that comes from the perfect pearls. And so on this tag, what I want to do now is use embossing paste. So this is the glossy black. Dreamweaver makes it. I get it through Paper Wishes, and I want to use a pine tree. Now the stencil is really, really thin, but it does add dimension. And when I put this on, I realized I probably wanted something back here, and that is easier to do before you put the paste on. And so I took one of the green tags that I demonstrated, and to me this always looks like a mountain range. I don't know why. It's usually the second tag that you put into the, or put onto the plastic wrap. And all I've done is taken some Memento ink, because remember, I mean, you've got a stencil, and so stenciled on some other pine trees, and then just tore some paper to create kind of this landscape look. So now let me set up, let me mask off so we can get this paste on here. So I've masked it off using some painter's tape, and I've just got a little sweet and low spoon, but any little spoon to kind of pick this stuff up. Now some of the colors, like the glossy black and a lot of the metallics, it's like liquid makeup. Then you just want to put it on a straight edge. So this actually comes with the squeegee or with the paste, but I mean you can use an old credit card or a used up gift card. So you get some on there, and all you want to do is come down across your stencil. And you've got actually quite a bit of time to manipulate it. Make sure you've got all the holes covered. So that actually looked pretty good, first swipe. Now, I'm going to pick this up, and since I didn't do anything to it, and I'm going to talk more about that in a little bit, I can just stick that right back into the jar. Now I've got this other paper over here so I can lay this stuff down, because what needs to happen pretty quickly are a couple of things. That stuff will need to get washed off as well as my stencil. And you want to be a little bit careful about untaping. So, just moving this over here. Sorry if my arm's in the way, but let's see if I can just pick this up. And that's that. And now you need to let it, that was not good. Now you need to let it dry, and I'm going to clean up some of this stuff because you don't want to leave it on your stencil. I mean, you could chip it off once it dries, but it's a lot easier to get it when it's wet. So I'm going to clean up, and then I've got another demo for you. So first I need to tell you my funny thing happened on the way to the grocery store story. What I've got here is, since I did a lot of tags, and since I've got to wait about an hour for that to dry, I tried some of the other pastes on some of my other tags. And what turned out happening, first off, this is gold paste on one of the purple tags. And since this is water-based, or blends with water, and so does this, when I put the gold on, well, first off, you could see over the white areas where I've got no soaking up. But the gold actually, or the embossing paste, actually soaked up the color. And so I kind of lost the image a little bit. These are in varied degrees of finished, by the way. Not totally finished. But in this silver, and I noticed then in the silver, same thing happened. And actually this is where I first noticed it, because I was putting the silver back into the jar and noticed that it had blue tinge. So you can see in the silver, let me flash it up a little bit. Hopefully you're catching that on camera. It is actually soaking up the pigment from the color burst. And this is copper. So I've got the copper picking up the green. And then I thought, wow, I've got another way to use color burst, and that is to color my paste. So this was white paste. Let's look up in here, because I used the blue color burst in the white paste, mixed it up, and got that teal blue. But again, when I put it onto the green, it soaked up the green. So what I want to do now is a couple things. So first off, I've got a tag that's just on cardstock. It's actually a watercolor cardstock, but I didn't do the watercolor. And what I want to do is mix up some paste, and I'm going to use the purple color burst, and I'm going to add some glitter to it. So now I want to be careful about not putting too much paste on there, because I know this cannot go back into the jar. So hopefully this will be enough to cover my project. So just see how little purple I'm going to use. And now I've got kind of this mixed bag of glitter. So this is a great way to use glitter, because when you mix it up into the paste, you know it's going to stick. So now let's just blend this together. Now when you're blending, you don't have to blend totally. I mean, you can kind of leave it a marbled kind of effect. So I'm kind of somewhere in between. I mean, it's mostly blended. And so again, kind of just scrape that onto your straight edge. And notice this, this is white embossing paste, just the regular, and it's quite a bit more gritty than what you saw for the black. So again, I'm going to scrape this into my stencil. Okay, so at this point, I'm not seeing any holes, and so I'm going to lift this up so I don't make a mess, and then I'll be back with this piece before I take it off to let it dry. Okay, I've got my dried pine tree. And that is as slick as it was when it went on. And this, again, is the glossy black. Actually, there's a chalkboard black also that you actually can use chalk on. I've got some netting here. This is actually an onion bag. And what I'm going to use to put it on are some staples. So I'm just going to kind of staple it and twist it and bring it around. And then I'll be back to color it. I didn't mean color my tag, I meant color the staples. So I've got a green Sharpie marker, and I just go over the staples. So actually I probably put more staples than I need, just because I like the look of the staples. Now the last thing I want to add are a couple die cuts. These come from Spellbinders. So I've got a compass that I cut out of satin cardstock from Create and Craft. Kind of want to make sure it's straight up and down. We just got a dimensional behind there. And then I am just going to glue on Adventure. Kind of probably coming across like this. And then of course I did the same thing with my blue tree. Let me see if you can see. And my purple tree. So that's kind of my signature tags for this collection. And then I did finish up a couple of the others. So kind of the same. Looking at the fern. So I've got the green fern. I'm going to leave photos of all these. I've got the snowflakes, and I used a white netting this time, and it says Be Merry. I can't make that out. Really, on all these tags, it's kind of like how you look at it. So if you're looking at an angle, it's interesting, and then it kind of changes and flashes color at you. Let's go ahead and look at the caged birds. So that's how that turned out. And really, I'm not going to do anything with this right now, because I just kind of like it. It's busy enough. If I use it on a scrapbook page, that might determine what embellishments I use. And that's also why I'm not filling in these holes or stringing these holes, because I might use them on card toppers and whatnot. So this guy, I took my Sharpie markers and I colored. So I used a bronze here and not the gold, because the gold wasn't showing up. I think my gold marker is kind of dying. And I used the green to do the leaves. I don't know. I'm still not a big fan of that one. For the other bird cage that was disappearing, I tried to find something that would not ruin my stencil, but make this white. So I did 1 coat of acrylic white paint. And I might need to go over that a couple more times to bring this one out. But I think eventually I'll get there. And then a couple I didn't show you at all is this one, because what I was going to do is come back. This is a stamp, and it's stamped what stays on. And so I was going to come back and and what am I trying to say? Black emboss. I was going to black emboss another set of trees up here. But after I looked at it, I just kind of like it as is. And as it happens, after I stamped the trees, I kind of extended this line because it looks like I've kind of got like an ice skating pond back there. Anyway, then the last one I made kind of off camera that I didn't show, this is actually translucent paste with the same purple color and the same glitter. So you could see on the white paste, it makes it look a little bit paler. Kind of changes actually the value of it as well. But if you get the translucent paste, I mean, that is the same purple. So that's really cool too. Anyway, I'm going to post majority of these on the Paper Wishes message board. I invite you, of course, to play along with us. There are so many talented crafters there, and there's also beginners. So every level of crafting goes on, but tons of inspiration. And I thank you for watching.